welcome to the Gallop Out. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson, joined for now by my co-host, Kaylie Shapiro, up in Saratoga. How are you, Kaylie?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing good, thank you. Jackson will be joining us in just a few minutes. He's working, so I'll give him a little bit of leeway while he joins us to preview this Saturday. It's Whitney Day out at Saratoga. 5 graded stakes, 4 grade 1s, and the grade 2 Saratoga special. Very excited to get into that. And we do have a special guest who's going to be joining with us. You see it in the banner going underneath and in the title. Works for DRF, makes the best morning light line maker in the game. I think I don't even know who second place would be. They are so accurate. He's also a really sharp handicapper. He loves picking prices. We're happy to be joined by him again. It is David Aragona. David, how are you doing?
Doing good. Happy to join you guys on a very exciting week up at Saratoga.
Very exciting week indeed. We'll start with you. How have you been? How's the season going? Obviously, you're very busy. Obviously, going nonstop, making morning lines, doing work for DRF. But in the meantime, how do you like your summer so far?
Things have been going well. I actually was up in Saratoga last week, kind of going back and forth. I'm back downstate now, but had a lot of fun. Got to see the Jim Dandy, a great performance by Sovereignty, and be watching the Whitney from home this week, but still an exciting card to handicap and definitely what I'm looking forward to playing on Saturday.
Very exciting card. The Whitney field came up really strong. Every field came up really strong. Really great competition. Kaylie, we got to get your thoughts. How was the Jim Dandy last weekend? You got to see your boy Sovereignty win yet again. Obviously, the next stop as in the Grade 1 Travers later this August.
Yeah, it was an amazing day. Obviously, so excited that Sovereignty won. Wasn't completely shocked, but really exciting race nonetheless. I thought that Baeza ran huge in the Jim Dandy and really cemented himself as a horse that belongs within that group of 3-year-olds. So that was really cool to see, and definitely share similar thoughts with David about the card this week. It was very fun to handicap. Not saying that the races aren't typically fun to handicap, but this one was, I think, extra fun just because of the field sizes and the amount of betting options in here.
Yeah, huge fields, some good prices. Everybody, we were all on a similar page, but we all have some different prices throughout our picks here. So we'll get on into it here. Yeah, obviously the Jim Dandy, Baeza stamped himself as still one of those top 3-year-olds. David, I actually want to get your thoughts real quick before we dive into the Saratoga special. Magnitude is a horse that's pointing towards the Travers. We haven't been able to see a whole lot of him, but what we have seen so far in his 3-year-old season has been pretty spectacular with 2 very strong triple-digit buyers. What do you make of him and, maybe like an early look towards the Travers, him and his chances against a horse like Sovereignty?
Yeah, obviously, I think we'd be happy to have him running because when Sovereignty keeps winning these races, I don't think there are too many connections that want to keep facing a horse like that when there might be other options out there. I know the 2 California-based runners, Journalism, Baeza, maybe not coming to the Travers. I guess we'll wait and see, but sounds like Steve Asmussen is interested in that with Magnitude. And I mean, I'll be intrigued to see what he can do against the top horse like that, because obviously he's run some speed figures that say he might be able to be competitive with a horse like Sovereignty, but he's done so in these blowout victories against competition that clearly was inferior to him in the Risen Star and then more recently in that race out at Prairie Meadows. So it would be a real class test for him and a new kind of foe for Sovereignty to face, one that might actually get away from him in the early stages in a race that, who knows, if it has a small field, might not feature a whole lot of pace. Then again, lately that hasn't mattered too much to Sovereignty because he's got a new running style. So I'll be interested to see who ultimately winds up in that field.
No doubt. Yeah, you mentioned Sovereignty's new running style where he's all of a sudden become more tactical. I was talking about that in a group chat earlier this week, and it's the football equivalent of if Tom Brady learned how to scramble. It's terrifying. The fact that he's been so much closer and brought into these races, it's terrifying for all the other competition. So it's really cool to see him run and really cool to see him progress. But Magnitude, you mentioned it. He's kind of a speed type. We don't have a whole lot of those, true speed horses in this 3-year-old crop, and that's going to be a new foe. But we'll get to that in our Travers show in a few weeks. Right now, let's go into the Saratoga special. It's going to go as race number 3 on this Saratoga card. The picks are up on the screen. As you can see, we view it as pretty much a 3-horse race. I went 6-2-1, Jackson 6-1-2, Kaylie 6-2-1, David 6-1-2. So obviously we have to start with the number 6, Obliteration, Flavien Prat, Steve Asmussen. This has been one of the most impressive 2-year-olds anywhere in the country in his first 2 starts. Obviously, he blew out the competition against multiple next out winners on debut, came right back out in the grade 3 Sanford and improved the buyer and improved the margin of victory as well. David, was this just kind of a single if you're playing any horizontals here early? Obviously, a top pick across the board for all of us.
Yeah, I see there's some consensus here. I'll say it wasn't so easy for me. I mean, I thought about reversing it and putting Ewing on top. He looked pretty good on debut as well. But I mean, as for Obliteration, I mean, a couple things with him that I think are real positives. First of all, it might look like he really improved last time in the Sanford, but you go back to that debut race at Churchill Downs, multiple horses have come back out of that race to run well, including the runner-up Curtain Call, who improved his buyer by, I think, 20 points next time out. So that might have been an even better race than it looked at the time. And yeah, he would just dominated the Sanford last out. And also, Steve Asmussen just has really great statistics across the board in graded stakes at Saratoga, but especially with his 2-year-olds in recent years. So it just feels like he's one that you can rely upon, whereas the stats aren't quite as strong doing what Ewing's trying to do, moving up into a stakes race off a debut victory.
Yeah, Ewing very strong on debut. I'm curious, Kaylie, if the post positions were flipped and if Ewing drew the 6 and Obliteration drew the 1, would that have made any difference in your picks? And then I'll get David's opinions on that as well, just because both of them have similar running styles and both were very, very strong last time out.
Yeah, for me, it was less about Ewing drawing the 1 hole and more so that I just prefer Obliteration a lot more. I mean, this horse has a gap, did not work after that debut until July 24th. So that was definitely something that I thought about. Pretty short price on this horse. Definitely ran well on debut, but preferred Obliteration for the fact that he beat winners in his second start, and he's won in 2 different ways as well. He tracked the pace on debut, which is something you really like to see in a 2-year-old. And something else I really like to see is the fact that he's had 2 different jockeys and has won with both. So it's not just like Pratt hopped aboard and helped the horse take another step forward. Mm-hmm. He won on debut with Eric Asmussen aboard. So definitely something that stuck out to me, and he drew really well. So if it was reversed, it's hard to say, but I think I prefer Obliteration as a horse, honestly.
Yeah, me too. He showed a lot of maturity for a 2-year-old, in my opinion, to be able to stalk and then take over so professionally on his debut and drew off obviously with relative ease, and then came right back into Sanford. And again, just won easily. He's a very good horse right now, a 2-year-old that I could certainly see another jump forward. So last horse that we'll talk about in this is the number 2 Comport, Eddie Keneally, Luis Saez. I picked this one in second, just trying to get a little bit creative with Ewing facing stakes competition and winners for the first time. This one lost to Romeo last time out. Obviously, the figures are a little bit light, so he's going to need to step forward. I just want to take a bit of a shot to see if I could get a little bit creative in the exacta, maybe spice things up. And now joining us is our other co-host. It's Jackson Muniz, freshly shaven Jackson Muniz. What's going on, man? Good to see you.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
It's going well. We're diving into the Grade 2 Saratoga Special this weekend. We're wrapping up this race as we have similar views, all of us with the 6 on top, and then a mix of the 1 Ewing and the 2 Comport underneath. Do you have any thoughts on any of these 3 runners?
It looks like we're all in agreement. 6-1-2. I think they're very, very close, but between the posts, Obliteration has the outside post, so that's going to give him a bit of an advantage there. It's also worth noting they both ran on the same day. I think it was about an hour apart. So you can they probably ran on somewhat of a similar racetrack, and Obliteration ran about 5 points faster. I think that's worth noting too. So I think he does that at least. At this point, he has a speed figure edge. Obviously, Ewing can improve too. That's just going to be a second career start. But as far as putting horse on top, I'd like Obliteration just a little more.
Yeah, same here. We'll move on. All of us 6 on top. I went 6-2-1, as did Kaylie, Jackson, and David 6-1-2. Next up, now we get into the Grade 1, the 4 consecutive Grade 1 races here on this Whitney Saturday card. We're going to start in the Grade 1 4-star Dave. Picks are up. I went 4-3-10, Jackson 1-7-3, Kaylie 3-4-6, and David 4-5-3. We'll start the conversation with the return and morning line favorite. That's the number 3, Johannes. Last seen running in the Grade 2 San Gabriel at Santa Anita out here on the West Coast. Ships out here. It's a tough comeback race. Kaylie, I'll let you kick us off here with the conversation as you pick the number 3, Johannes, on top.
Yeah, this horse was considered, one of the best turf horses of all time last year. So definitely really excited for his return. But when you think about it, this horse, it's pretty interesting that they're shipping out to Saratoga for the first time ever. Kind of, they probably have had this race circled for a pretty long time for this horse's return. And I think this horse, there's no reason why this horse can't sit a good trip here. I didn't see I saw a decent amount of speed on paper, but it's not like this horse needs the lead whatsoever. Pretty versatile type of horse. And I'd imagine, it's kind of interesting that this horse broke his maiden over good turf out at Santa Anita and now is coming out east for the first time ever. Kind of makes you wonder if the connections think that this horse might prefer the turf out here and maybe take even a step up, which, second. But even if that's not the case, the horse runs really well off of a layoff, and I viewed this obviously as the horse to beat. A pretty jam-packed field too, so I didn't mind taking 5-2 on this one.
Yeah, I think 5-2 is a very fair price and one that I think would represent some really good value on a horse like Johannes. David, I'll go over to you next. We all have some respect for the number 3 Johannes. We all picked him in our top 3 somewhere. You picked a couple on top of him. What do you make of this horse coming back off the layoff in a race like the 4-star Dave? Obviously a very tough comeback.
Yeah, as Kaylie said, I think it's interesting that he's kicking off his campaign here. I imagine one factor in why they're shipping across the country is because this horse got really close to winning the Eclipse Award for Champion Turf Male last year. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of voters didn't go for him because he didn't have those Grade 1 wins. They're just not offering those Grade 1 opportunities out in Southern California. And if he's going to win an Eclipse Award this year, getting a late start to his campaign, having that bone bruising that put him on the sidelines the first half of the year, he kind of has to ship around and win a couple of Grade 1s maybe here or at Keeneland before the Breeders' Cup. So I imagine that's why they're kind of kicking off his campaign in a tough spot. But this horse ran really well last year. I mean, arguably ran just as well as the winner in the Breeders' Cup Mile at the end of the season. So if he's ready to run and watching his workouts, it seems like he is. He's going to be a handful, but this is a super competitive race.
Very competitive race. You and I ended up on the top, on the same top pick with the number 4, Think Big. I mentioned that in a group chat earlier. I like this horse a lot. Gives me kind of those Casa Creed vibes from a few years ago when Belmont stretched that horse out from sprint distance, then going to a mile, and just it seemed to really fit him. What were your thoughts on the number 4, Think Big, that ended up getting him your top billing?
Yeah, this is a horse that I was intrigued by last time when he stretched out in the Kelso, because I know he came to hand as a talented turf sprinter earlier this season when he first got on the surface, but when you watch him run those turf sprints, it's always like he just barely gets there at the end. Like he's not fast enough to keep up for most of the race, and then he finally kicks it into top gear in the last furlong and is able to get up going 5.5. But it kind of felt like eventually he'd reach his limit going that far, and you kind of saw that happen in the Jaipur. There were other things working against him in that race, but still, he just kind of got run off his feet. So I've always kind of been waiting for him to go a little bit longer. And I thought at the time, like 6 to 7 furlongs at Belmont would be perfect. Obviously, we're not running those distances right now, but they stretched out to the mile in the last race, and he had that same burst of speed at the end that we saw in his sprint races. And it's kind of interesting to watch the Kelso unfold because there were definitely plenty of trips in there. And not saying he had the worst trip by any means, but it was a time, 4th of July weekend, when the rails were down to 0 feet on the inner turf. And it felt like having rail position was a real advantage. And this horse was never really on the inside. He was sitting too wide outside of Intellect for almost his entire trip until he kind of dove down inside at the very end of the race to produce that light burst of speed coming through inside of that rival. So I think he ran the best race on that occasion. And coming right back here, I think he's going to get another good trip from post 4. I'm a little confused by the musical jockeys in this race with Jose Ortiz getting off, Ben Curtis not coming in to ride, and him picking up Luis Saez. I don't know what to make of any of that. But in a field this competitive, I think you could get a fair price on him once again.
I'm right with you. I think 6-1 is a very fair price. And with these mile races on turf, I like to pay attention to that final fraction and that come home time. Think Big came home in 22.41, which is a very strong versus that field. There was only one other horse in the field that came home faster, and we'll talk about him a little later. That's the number 10, Neat, to the far outside, and we'll talk about his trip. As David, you mentioned, this was the race where Donegal Momentum took a bit of a weird step, and he obviously got shuffled back throughout the field, and it caused a number of horses to either pause or alter path or check. So it was a bit of a weird running coming around that far turn, but I thought the number 4, Think Big, I'm with you. Going to sit a nice trip once again from that 4 post. And yeah, the jockey musical chairs in this race is a little bit interesting. So, but I don't know that I'll look into it too much. Louis Saya is obviously a very strong, very capable rider. We're going to go to Jackson, who we haven't heard a whole lot of. He's picking the number 1, Cugino, 10-1 on the morning line. Irad's on board. What do you like about this one enough to give him your top billing?
Yeah, well, just with Johannes real quick. Look, he's way the horse to be. He can make a strong case. He's the best turf horse California has had in quite some time. But I'm looking at mostly his time form figures, and they're really not any better than anyone else in this field. They're all kind of very similar. You got a lot of horses in here running around 124, 125. He's going to have to run. He's going to have to run one of his better efforts to beat this field. I just didn't want to settle on too short of a price on him. I'm rooting for him. Obviously, the California guys out here rooting for him, but I think we're supposed to try to take him on in this spot. So I went to Cugino on the inside, and I thought he ran really well last time on the comeback. I think he had some, if I remember correctly, he missed a couple starts. Like they were trying to get him on the turf and just scratched maybe once or twice. And I thought he ran well in that race. I remember watching the replay, and Big Everest, Rosario just had the hold of him in the stretch. Rosario's acting like he's got so much horse. He was really confident. And Cugino still ran him down pretty easily in the end. Finally got out late in the stretch and won that race pretty easily. And I love when horses come back from 3 to 4 and they run a career top. I think it's a really good sign that they come back. They show that improvement from 3 to 4, which he did in that race. Big Everest came right back and won again, kind of validated that form a little bit. He's going to probably have to take a step forward in this race again to be, a win contender in here. But it's only his second start of the year of his campaign. And he drew really well on the inside. I'm hoping he gets exactly encrypted last time. Just follow the 2 to his outside, follow him, save as much ground as you possibly can, and see what you got in the stretch.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think something that really jumps off the page is that work he had 2 back on, I believe, July 20th. Best of 51.
He worked with integration. He looked really good.
Yeah. I mean, you see the 4 furlongs in 46 with the over the training track at Saratoga. I mean, that's very impressive. That's a very quick time. We're going to go to the number 6 to you, Kaylie, to talk about Intellect, who's also coming out of that same Kelso race. And then if you want to touch on Think Big, I know you have that one in your top 3 as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a race I'd probably go too deep in with the 3 and the 4. I really debated with myself for a long time whether or not to put Think Big on top. I thought that horse ran a huge race in the Kelso. A lot of people say that he had the Red Sea kind of parted for him, but I didn't view it as that, as David kind of went in depth about the trip that he got that day. I think that horse is pretty dangerous in here. And then the number 6, I put in third because he has 2 back-to-back good efforts going this distance at this track. And, last time out, he was a part of the Donegal momentum, getting pulled up out of the race and all of that as well. And I think that this horse fits in with the field and, has gotten second in both of his starts here in similar spots. So I do think obviously taking a step up, but it's Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt, and the horse's figures are on par with the field and doesn't need a whole lot of pace to close into, not necessarily. So I think that this horse should, run a decent race.
Kaylie, do you think he moved too soon last time? Because I bet him that day, and I thought he was 1-9 at the 8th pole. I have no idea how he got run down this race. That was my only concern with him.
Yeah, I just think honestly that Think Big had a bigger late burst. This horse was also sitting ahead of him. Maybe he moved too soon, maybe not. I don't view him as a horse that can finish in the top 2 here, but definitely fits in third with this group, and has a decent enough late kick as well that you'd imagine he can sit 3-4 lengths off the pace and at least pick up third here.
Yeah, I would think so too. David, we'll go to you. The number 5 win for the money. Another horse that had to alter course a little bit in that last effort in the Kelso. Why'd you like this runner, picking him second?
Yeah, I feel like we could spend this entire show just analyzing trips from the Kelso because there were so many things going on in that race. And yeah, as Jackson said, Intellect kind of moved a little soon. He had to when Donegal Momentum sort of opened up that spot, getting pulled up at that point in the race. And I thought Flavian Pratt did what he had to do, but it sort of changed the race flow. Win for the money. I mean, he did have to swerve slightly when Donegal Momentum took that awkward step. But even beyond that, I mean, he just got the wrong trip over that course, the way it was playing on July 4th weekend, because he wanted to be inside, like I said, and he was just sitting 3 wide, parked outside with no cover every step of the way, also racing more forward than I think he really needs to be in that spot. And I mean, this horse must have been doing well coming into that race because I didn't really see him as a 3-1 shot on paper, but the bettors really went for him and he ran a big race. I think he might have even run a winning race. The trip just didn't work out for him on that occasion. And now he's drawn in the middle of the pack. I think they're going to have more of an opportunity to save ground here. He is a horse that's been a little up and down during his career. His good effort is definitely good enough to potentially win here, maybe, outside of Johannes. But he's also got some bad races showing, so you never really know what to expect from him. But if he runs as well as last time, I think he's a player here at a price.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, the trip was horrendous, I guess, to say the least. Losing that much ground with the rails down at Saratoga, that's a death sentence, as you mentioned during that July 4th weekend. Last horse we'll talk about is the number 10 Neat, who I think is just a bit of a price that can round out those exotic wagers if you're playing any trifectas and supers. Neat, I think, was had the most trouble caused by Donegal Momentum in that last race. Was well out of it, so had to make a huge run. But just as he was getting put into the race by Junior Alvarado last time going around the turn, he had to swerve out. And if you watch the head-on replay, he went maybe 9-10 wide to be conservative about it. And he came home the quickest. So he recovered well. Alvarado took him right back down to the rail, tipped him out, and he finished alongside Win for the Money last time out. So after all that trouble, I just think that this is an interesting price horse to put in underneath. I don't know that he's that, top caliber win candidate as he's, he kind of knocks around at the grade 3 listed stake levels, kind of where his competition and his winning efforts have come from. But I think this is certainly one that can run a much improved effort. The draw, obviously, I'm not stoked about drawing way out wide in post 10, but with his lack of early speed, I expect Alvarado to kind of duck down to the rail early, save ground, and maybe make an unaltered run this time to try and round some things out. So Jackson, actually, you are going to, my bad. Yeah, you are going to take us home here. You're going to talk about the number 7 Spirit of St. Louis.
He's just really interesting. Like, he's got 2 races this year that 6-1, like, sign me up. I want 6-1 on him all day. And then he's got 2 races this year. They're just like, what the heck happened? Like, he just didn't run at all. I don't know what you're supposed to do with him. I guess you can say he was wide on the outside on the race last. Like, he really wasn't that wide. I mean, he didn't get to the rail where everyone came from in the top 3 that day, but he didn't have a bad trip there. He just never ran into Manhattan. It was a weird race, but obviously the Turf Classic was really good. The Pegasus was really good. It just mattered which version are we going to see from him on Saturday. So kind of have to figure out what price you're willing to take on him that he does rebound.
Yeah, and he's a bizarre horse because Gulfstream obviously is a very firm turf course, and he ran really well. The Turf Classic that he ran at Churchill Downs was over a very soft turf course after all the rain that they got, and he ran really well there. Came back to get a very wet turf course in the Manhattan, and he was nowhere. And then the Muniz Memorial Classic, named after the guy below me here, Jackson. That was a race we've talked about so many times where they took the rails down. He was in the middle of the course, and that wasn't the place to be. So that's obviously an excused effort. But you mentioned it. He's kind of inconsistent. It's just a matter of what version of that horse you're going to get. But a very competitive field in the Grade 1 4-star, Dave. And I think all of these horses are going to represent some good value. Just, you kind of got to pick and choose who you want to take in there. One more time to go over the picks. I went 4-3-10, Jackson 1-7-3, Kaylie 3-4-6, and David 4-5-3. We'll move on to the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby, going 1 mile and 3/16 for the 3-year-olds. Let me throw the picks up on the screen. I went 5-1-7, Jackson 5-6-7, Kaylie 3-5-1, and David 3-7-5. So again, we all have some similar thoughts here as we go along. But let's start the conversation with your morning line favorite, number 7, Hot as Hell, 7-5 on the morning line, coming in from Great Britain. Last ran in the Grade 1 Coral Eclipse, losing by about 3.5 lengths. Shane Foley into ride. None of us have this horse on top, but this is clearly one that I think is well respected. David, we'll start with you. Do you think this? I mean, you make the morning line, so obviously a deserving morning line favorite at 7-5. But do you think this is a horse?
No. Feel free to question me. I might be wrong on this one.
I mean, has clearly faced some of the best. Field of Gold, who he lost to 2 back, would be 1-30 in here. That horse could win going backwards. So I wanted to get your thoughts. We're all trying to beat this horse in here. What do you make of this horse coming in?
No, I mean, look, I had to get these lines in very early. I mean, basically do them in the 8 hours after the card was drawn. This is one I probably want to tweak a little bit because, sometimes doing the line, I try to keep my own handicapping thoughts out of it. But I mean, the average player looking at this horse, I mean, Jessica Harrington, not a household name, not somebody that ships over from Europe that much. So, I mean, I wonder if this horse maybe is not going to be that low. I mean, I think he'll be favored in here, but I could see him being more somewhere in the 2-1 to 5-2 range than as low as 7-5. So I'll just kind of preface my thoughts with that. But as far as him being a contender in this race, as you said, I mean, he's just faced stiff competition overseas. And even going back to his 2-year-old season, I mean, he was a Group 1 winner over there. We don't typically see horses of that quality come over for these races. And the horse that he beat in that Group 1 victory, Delacroix, I mean, he's one of the best 3-year-olds in Europe. I mean, you could see it. He won that Coral Eclipse last time out. And hot as hell, I mean, he's just a really hard trier when you watch his races. Doesn't always look like he's going to get there, but he just keeps finding more at the end. I mean, he really gutted out that Group 1 at the end of his 2-year-old season. And I mean, he was just kind of churning on behind some superior horses in his last couple of races. I think he's getting appropriate class relief here and seems like a horse that acts over firm ground. So, I mean, to me, he's just way the horse to beat in this spot, and I'll be interested to see what kind of price he is. But all the Americans might have to step up their game to go with him.
Yeah, he's certainly one of those Euros that could come over and, just blow this field away if he's on his best day. I mean, you mentioned Delacroix. Even a Budsman and Ruling Court would be heavy favorites in here if they were to come over. They're both very well respected and talented in their own right. So has clearly faced some of the stiffest competition. It's just a matter of if he's going to come over here and travel that mile and 3/16. I know he went the mile and a quarter last time, but maybe that wasn't his best effort, or maybe he was just overmatched, but time will tell. Jackson, any thoughts on the number 7, Hot as Hell? And then go ahead and take us to your top pick and my top pick, the number 5, Test Score.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly the one to beat. I'm not an expert on European form. I'm going to let the people later in the week tell me how good this horse really is and kind of go from there. So I have him in the mix just for now, and we'll see as the week goes on. As far as Test Score goes, obviously, Ryan Barry knows this is my favorite horse in the entire world. He never ever wins for me. Every time I bet him, he always beats me. And he's one of those horses, but he's damn good. He's really, really good. I think this horse wants to run all day long. I think the more he stretches out, the better he's going to continue to get. And he's getting more ground in this spot. And he's also really tactical too. It's not like he comes from way out of it. He's usually pretty close to the front, which is obviously a big advantage in a race like this, where there's not a whole lot of speed in here either. He'll probably be close again in this race, and he just beat a lot of those horses that are coming back in this spot, and they beat him pretty easily. So I view him as the major win contender in here. I think he's pretty good, and I think he's very live.
Yeah, I share a lot of your thoughts. I think that longer the better as well. So I like that he's going even a half furlong farther than he was in the Belmont Derby. It looks like he's just getting going towards the end of those races. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he stretches out as he keeps going longer. I like the way Graham Motion has brought Test Score come along really nicely as a 3-year-old. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple common opponents with World Beater and New Century. We spoke about this race going into the Belmont Derby. We thought it was New Century's day, and clearly he never really kicked things in. He never really showed us that he was going to take that step forward in the Belmont Derby, running that repeated Beyer.
He also got an interesting ride in that spot.
He did.
He was very close to the front than he's ever been before, and I don't think Irad Ortiz is going to be doing that here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. That is a really good point to make. He was a lot closer to the pace than he is used to being, and there is not a lot of pace in here. But again, that's kind of what led me to picking Test Score on top, is he can be very tactical in a spot like this. And again, he just kind of is just beginning to stretch his legs in that final furlong. So I thought that was very interesting. Kaylie, I want to get your thoughts, and then over to David as well. The number 3, Final Gambit, is rearing his face again. Blinkers on for the occasion, but 6-1 with Flavien Prat and Brad Cox. That is certainly a price that you don't see very often.
Yes, and that's what very much excited me. I mean, I took the horse last time out in the Belmont Derby, and he was pretty overbet that day. Looking back, that was definitely a bad pick at those odds. But now, I mean, he's doing what I always think that this horse would be better off doing, as you can see in his past performances as well, which is stretching out further. Yeah, there's not a ton of pace in the race, but I think that the horse is still able to make up ground, even if there isn't a ton of pace. I just think maybe he just needs more ground in front of him. I mean, you look at the Derby, obviously going 1.25 miles, the horse ran lights out that day, in my opinion. And then prior to that, the Jeff Ruby Stakes was a great race. The horse ran an 87 last time out, switching back to the turf for the first time. Just if this horse takes a little bit of a step up from there, I think that puts him in a pretty good spot. And also, I really like the fact that he gets blinkers on, and Brad Cox has tremendous stats putting blinkers on in turf routes. So that's something else that stuck out to me. And I hope you can get 6-1, even, I mean, 4 or 5-1. I'd love to bet this horse at.
Yeah, no doubt. David, your thoughts on the number 3 Final Gambit?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get 6-1, Kaylie. I'll criticize my own line on this one. It's a one that I would very much like to do over. But if I'm right that they don't bet the European horse as strongly as I think they, as they originally thought they might, the price might come down on him and some others. But what I will say is he seemed to handle getting back on the turf last time just fine. And watching that Belmont Derby was interesting because on the surface of things, it seemed like the pace came apart because obviously the leader who was in front for a long way came back to the field, and the horses who were 9-10 lengths behind ended up finishing very close to the front, and the entire field came together like an accordion at the end. I still felt like it was a race where they came home really fast. I mean, you look at some of the interior splits. I mean, horses that were able to sort of build their momentum constantly through the race, like Test Score, and not have that momentum broken, were the ones that were really successful at the end. World Beater, a similar thing, even though he covered some ground. And Final Gambit was just sort of never really in position to make that run. He was in behind horses around the turn. Even when they turned into the stretch, the entire field fanned out. He was in behind that wall of horses. Not that he didn't have room to run or anything like that. He just is a horse that really needs to be in the clear to launch that big late kick like we've seen in the races where he was successful. And once they finally steered him to the outside at about the 16th pole, it's like he took off again. And he was flying past horses at the wire and quickly galloped out ahead of everybody. Just felt like he finished that race with something left in the tank. And obviously, as a deep closer like he is, it's hard to time the move correctly. But I think he's better than the result last time. A little at a distance is only going to help him. Again, the pace of this race looks murky, but with the blinkers going on, I'm hoping it can keep him a little bit more engaged. And if he's around 9-2, I think that's a fair price on him. I don't know how much lower than that I want to go. But I found him to be the most intriguing of the horses coming out of the Belmont Derby.
He is very intriguing coming out of there. You mentioned the Gallop Out in front. So he was really just getting going, and I'm with you. I think the more distance, the better. He's one that I'm maybe looking a little bit down the line. I think 6-1, though, if we do get somewhere around there, although Final Gambit seems to always be taking money at the windows. Whether or not it's deserved or not, I think that people still look at the Derby running line. I think they look at that Jeff Ruby Stakes effort where, he closed past the entire field. And again, stepping up on turf, getting blinkers on for Brad Cox and Flavien Prat in the saddle is a very strong move. But David, I don't think anybody's going to, fault you for fixing your morning lines as you go through here. You had to do that very quickly, and they're still very accurate. I really don't have much of an issue with any of the lines I've seen so far. Go ahead, Jackson.
No, I was going to mention, I went to go handicap yesterday morning at 8 a.m. and the lines were already out. I was shocked. Very, very pleasantly surprised. So thank you, David, for getting those out.
It's just the best feeling to open these past performances 4 or 5 days before the races, see post position, see morning lines. It makes me so happy. So we'll continue the conversation by going down to the rail with the number 1 Capitol Hill coming out of the Manila Stakes. Kaylie, you and I both like this horse. I really wanted to pick this horse on top. I just thought the speed figures were a little light. I think this one's going to really need to take a step up, but this one closed very fast last time out, just losing to Zulu Kingdom by less than a length. Zulu Kingdom is obviously one of the really nice horses in here, although the connections have said that they like him better at a mile, which is likely why we don't see him in a race like this. Although confused why we didn't, maybe see him entered in the 4-star date, but maybe he'll turn up sometime soon. But either way, I thought this one was very interesting. I love the ride he got last time, and he projects to save a lot of ground and make that same run. My only other knock against him is there's not a lot of pace in here, as Jackson mentioned when we first started talking about this one. But anything to add on the number 1 Capitol Hill, Kaylie?
Yeah, I think Final Gambit and Capitol Hill, I like them both. I mean, they drew pretty well here. You look at Final Gambit. I'm not sure if I mentioned this when we were talking about him, but obviously he drew the 3-hole here last time. He was in the 6-hole. It was a 7-horse field. Probably can sit a little bit of a better trip, as well as the number 1, Capitol Hill. I mean, a deep closer. He was breaking mid-pack, like you said, being on the rail, hopefully can save a bit of ground. And I thought this horse made up a ton of ground last time out in the Manila in a race where nobody was making up any ground. So that definitely sticks out to me. I don't think that the pace will matter so much for this one. Interested to see how he runs stretching out in distance, but I mean, looks like he can certainly handle it. He's gone this distance before. Only lost by 2.5 lengths that day to some pretty good horses in that allowance race. So I'm interested in this one. Pretty big price, 15-1, as he should be. But, sneaks his way up. Certainly at some big prices like we saw last time out.
Definitely. So yes, to repeat that effort and improve upon that, prove it wasn't just a fluke, but I do believe that he's going the right direction now midway through his 3-year-old campaign. That is the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby Invitational, going as race number 9. One more time with the picks. I went 5-1-7, Jackson 5-6-7, Kaylie 3-5-1, David 3-7-5. We'll move on now to the dirt portion of the show. We're going Grade 1 for the test. It's the 3-year-old fillies, 7 furlongs on the dirt. Picks are up on the screen. I went 2-8-6, Jackson 3-2-6, Kaylie 1-8-6, and David 1-6-8. We're going to start with the rail. We'll start with the number 1, Ragtime. David, this filly's been really strong in both of her efforts so far. Maiden special weight, the maiden breaking performance, I believe I was there for and watched that happen. That was a very strong first out performance for Bill Mott. Came right back to repeat and even improve that effort by 10 buyer points. Next out, again, going the 7 furlongs. So clearly it started off on a very strong note. Do you think this one has another step forward? And does she even need to step forward to beat this group?
I think she does need a step forward. I also think she's got plenty of upside still. I'm just really interested to see how this race unfolds because it's a fun race to handicap. I couldn't get to a really satisfying place with my picks where I felt like I had like great value on a horse. So I kind of went with the one that I thought has the most upside. And for me, that is the number 1, Ragtime. But it was a tough race for me to decipher. She's just a horse that has seemed very professional from the start. She seems very comfortable racing in behind horses. We saw that on debut where she just sat very handy in behind a wall of horses. Didn't seem to matter that she was receiving kickback at all. Tipped out and unleashed a nice turn of foot. And then last time out, I know she was beating a weaker field, but some horses that had, some buyers in the 80s or low 90s, and she just walloped them going the 7 furlong distance. Don't mind the rail draw because she's raced inside of horses before, seems comfortable doing it. I mean, it's funny when you watch her workouts, she doesn't really show you a whole lot in the morning. And I kind of missed her on debut because she looked like she was second best to a bunch of horses in her workouts. And even on the way into this race, she's just not showing a whole lot, but she just turns into a completely different horse in the afternoons and always looks like she's got more to give in those races. So I'm very intrigued to see how she stacks up against this field moving up in class. Again, 4-1. I wouldn't want to go too much lower than that if I were betting her in this race, but I did put her on top.
Yeah, she certainly has, some stuff to prove, but I think 4-1 is very fair value for what you could get on a horse that, as you mentioned, has a lot of upside. Kaylie, anything to add on the number 1, Ragtime?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. And last time out, obviously faced older fillies and mares and pretty high level allowance race. And even though it's not, stakes company and she has to take a big step up here, being in a Grade 1, it is positive to see just the way that she dusted older fillies and mares in that allowance field. So that definitely stuck out to me. And she's drawn the 1 hole before and has won from there. So that's not a concern either. And I have a feeling that these are one of those horses from Mott that once she gets on a roll, she continues. And you kind of see that. I mean, not to go into pedigree too much, but she is a 3-year-old filly, only has 2 starts. If you look at her dam, first 4 starts, undefeated. And in her 4th start, she stepped up to Grade 2 company and won with a 107. That definitely stuck out to me. So I think this is one of those fillies, when she gets on a roll, she could just keep winning. She does have to switch off Lasix, but not too much of a concern. Mott stats aren't too concerning, making similar moves, and I think she can set a nice stalking trip too. Obviously, we'll have to go a little bit from the one hole, but she can rate right off of your main speed in here, and I think set a pretty nice trip.
Yeah, I think she could certainly set a nice trip in here. And on debut, drawing the rail to overcome that and to run with how much just determination and overall maturity she had in her debut for Bill Mott, who, as we all know, doesn't typically win with his first-time starters. When he does, typically they end up being something special. And this one appears to have all the makings of something like that. Jackson, I want to...
Ryan, I got to ask you, because I got a text from you after Ragtime's most recent win, and you said that's a Breeders' Cup Sprint contender, but you don't have her anywhere. So what changed in the last couple of weeks?
Nothing has changed. Still love this filly and still looking forward to having her run. I did pick her fourth, but this is a very difficult race. I think that this is the toughest group that she's going to be facing to this point in her career. I think she can absolutely take the step forward, but 4-1, I opted just going in a different direction for this race. She will be on my tickets. Again, I picked her fourth. This is a very competitive field, and I chose to narrow elsewhere in the horizontals I'll be playing. But I wanted to, just go a little bit in a different direction. And part of that different direction was the number 2 Kilwin, a horse that I think really took to the dirt last time out in the Leslie's Lady Stakes out at Churchill Downs. Closed into a pace that pretty much held together. I mean, I know it wasn't the biggest field, but Vodka with a Twist had a relatively easy lead that day. She was the favorite. She got run down in the final, furlong or so by Kilwin, who just really took a step up going turf to dirt. And I want to see if she can repeat that effort. I feel like 6-1 is a fair enough value for me. Jose Ortiz has been riding lights out, as has the other Ortiz brother, Irad, who we'll get to in a little bit. But I thought Kilwin has all the chances to improve again. Now stepping up into graded stakes competition in the test here. So I like this one. Jackson, you have this one second. What did you like about the number 2 Kilwin?
Yeah, everything that you said. First time dirt, she looked really good. I don't know how good that field was, to be honest, but she did it the right way. There wasn't a whole lot of pace in there. She still ran him down, and she's improving. She's a bit of a price in here, so I thought she was interesting. Yeah.
We'll stick with you, Jackson, as I want you to talk about the number 3 Look Forward, Michael McCarthy, Umberto Rispoli, connections we're very familiar with, along with the Silks of Redham Racing. Out here, they last tried the Acorn over a weird, sloppy track that has come back, a bit questionable with the form lines, because that track took a ton of rain, seemingly out of nowhere. What do you make of this one, turning back to a winning distance she had in the 8 Bells?
Yeah, I like her quite a bit in this spot. I thought her 8 Bells race was really, really good. She was kind of always not in the greatest spot. She was kind of between 2 speed horses. They were both took a lot more money than she did, and they both finished way up the track. She kept going the whole way, won that race. Horses came from way out of like Evanston's. Evanston's was like 25 legs back coming for home, and she got third. So that race kind of fell apart. And then last time, she just chased Lacara around the whole time. But I thought she ran okay to finish second in there. Obviously, Lacara is very, very good when she gets flus like that. And we saw what Scottish Lassie came back and did last weekend. So, she's been keeping the best company. You can make a case she's been keeping the best company out of this field. The cut back to 7 furlongs shouldn't hurt her too much. She can go forward. She can stitch us off if they need to. And I don't think it's insignificant that everyone else in this field is coming out of races with blue fractions. All these horses coming out of slow pace races. She's been going in races that are just flying early on. So I do think she does have that advantage where she can be forwardly placed and maybe make them go a little bit faster than everyone else wants to go early on. So at 8-1, I'm very interested in her at a price.
Yeah, she's certainly one that I want to give a second look to as we keep going on. We're going to go now to the morning line favorite, 9-5 on the number 6 Echo Sound, coming off a very strong 101 buyer speed figure last time in the grade 3 victory ride. David, you have this one second, so we'll go to you now. What did you like about this horse? Obviously a very deserving morning line favorite coming out of that last out victory.
Yeah, I'm not against this horse at all. I think she's very much the one to beat in this race. It might look like that 101 buyer came out of nowhere, but she had run really well in some prior races, even going back to her 2-year-old season. I mean, you can make a pretty strong case that she should be undefeated because it wasn't Louise Size's best piece of riding when she lost that Fern Creek at Churchill Downs last November. She was the best horse that day. And I mean, she came off the layoff, won that Miss Preakness so comfortably. And I mean, she showed she could finally run the fast number last time, and doesn't look like that's a fluke. I mean, there was big gaps between first and second and third, which is typically the acid test to see if a speed figure is legitimate. And coming back in this spot, I'm not so concerned about the 7 furlongs for her. She's got good tactical speed. She's drawn outside of a lot of the other speed. I just think she's the most likely winner in this race. I don't know how short a price I'd want to go at a field this competitive, but she's a horse that I'm not leaving off my tickets.
Yeah, she's one I think has universal respect across the panel here, as we all have her in the top 3. Kaylie, anything to add on the number 6 Echo Sound here?
Yeah, I imagine I'm definitely going to be playing this sequence and kind of thought the same. I mean, the top 3 that I used, I just used those 3 and I feel pretty safe. Obviously I'm not playing against this Echo Sound in any which way. I have her 3rd, but I mean, that figure, although she did run really good races prior and fits in well with this field, I thought that 101 is just a huge step up out of nowhere. Not necessarily out of nowhere. I know she's run good races, but we know Speed did really well that day and that weekend during the 4th of July Racing Festival. I'm not sure if that, inflated that a little bit. She did run a really fast race, but not a horse that I wanted to put on top at a short price in such a competitive field, as David said, but one that I definitely want on my ticket.
Yeah, very fair. I think she definitely is capable of repeating that effort last time out. You mentioned how strung out the field was, David, and how that's typically the acid test for the speed figures holding up. Next horse, though, I want to go to is a filly that I think is just keeps improving race by race, and that's the other Bill Mott horse, the number 8 Beauty Reigns. Gets Irad Ortiz, stretches out to 7 furlongs for the first time. Obviously has gone longer, but this distance I feel like is going to fit her the best. She was also chasing a slow-ish pace last time out in the victory ride that Echo Sound kind of blew the doors off the competition of. But she finished second, again, 4.5 lengths back. But I like the way that she, finished that race off. I feel like stretching out that extra half a furlong from the 6.5 might bring her just a little bit more into the race. I'm hoping to see her kind of make that move out wide as they turn for home and maybe get Echo Sound to the inside of her and just hope that she can kind of outgame that horse down to the wire. A bit of a shot. Obviously, I very much respect the talent that Echo Sound has, as well as the rail horse Ragtime. It's a very competitive field going to 7 furlongs, but I wanted to give a shot to Bill Mott and Irad Ortiz, 6-1. And they've had a lot of success when they team up together. So one I thought was very useful. And I like the 3 furlong work coming in here as well. Kaylie or David, anything to add? We'll go to you first, Kaylie.
Yeah, I think Mott has a pretty good chance of finishing 1-2 here, and it's not my fault saying that. I mean, his horses really happen to fit. This horse is going to get more pace than she did last time out in the victory ride to close into. She disappointed at 2 very short prices in her last 2 efforts, so now you get her at 6-1, which is pretty exciting. And I think as well, this is one that kind of every single time looks like she's going to get there, and I have a feeling with more speed in the race that she can get the job done. And certainly drew my attention that bullet work coming into the race as well. Mott doesn't work his horses fast. Irad back up for the first time. Another interesting change here for this one, but yeah, she's just going to get more pace. And I think that she has a really good chance at rounding out exactas at a decent price.
I think so too. Very interesting, the jockey movement that's gone around in this race. David, anything to add on the number 8 Beauty Reigns?
No, I mean, I think pace is going to be key to the chances of both of these Mott horses, because I could see it going one of 2 ways. I mean, maybe Look Forward gets a really aggressive ride from the inside and goes after a horse like Me and Molly McGee, who we didn't mention, but has a ton of gate speed and looks like the clear front runner in this race. But I mean, I don't know. Echo Sound was very successful with more aggressive tactics last time, so hard to envision they're going to take that away from her. Artisma has a lot of early speed that she showed last time, so I could see this pace heating up, but it is New York, and sometimes they don't go. So, I mean, I'll be interested to see how that develops, because it feels like both of these Mott horses could benefit from a little bit of contention on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, and I think as you touched on, the pace is going to come from most likely number 5, Me and Molly McGee, as your main speed in here. Always breaks really sharp and has run them off their feet on a couple of occasions there. Both last out going 6 furlongs. I wonder, though, stretching out that extra furlong, if maybe that ultimately would lead for us to pick otherwise, as none of us have her in our top 3. But yeah, I'm curious what the number 7 Artisma is, how she is going to factor into the pace here, because as you mentioned, it is New York, so sometimes that pace doesn't materialize. But this filly is also quick. Her last out 6 furlong effort, very fast in those early fractions. So if Johnny's aggressive out of there, I think that can maybe muddy the pace a little bit and get the setup that you kind of look for some of these Mott horses, and even a horse like the number 3 Look Forward, who's capable of sitting behind some fast paces and taking over, kind of getting that proverbial first jump on the rest of them. Jackson, go ahead.
We have to mention the number 4 Cash Call for Bob Baffert. I know that none of us have this horse in our top 3, but it's Bob Baffert bringing a horse over, and Flavian's getting on. The horse has run some pretty fast races, has sat close to some pretty hot paces. So I think that this one kind of ensures that there's going to be at least an honest pace, which gave me more hope for that. But I mean, I'm curious on what your thoughts are on the number 4, anyone, Cash Call, because this was one I don't have in my top 3, but certainly scares me just a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I mean, her race 2 back, the 6 furlong allowance win, was really impressive, the way that she opened up on that field of older horses, but she wasn't beating much in there. And you look through the fields that she's faced in all 3 of her wins, not the best. And it just feels like this is a huge step up in class. And also, it's not like we've seen Bob Baffert have the success that he used to with these shippers over the past several years. So I kind of wanted to take a wait and see approach with this one.
And cutting back, you think a Citizen Bowl? Yeah.
Yep.
Cutting back, certainly not his strongest angle. You can see just plain and simple the route and sprint on the bottom. It's a 17% with a $1.10 ROI. The ROI doesn't improve too much if you factor that into dirt graded stakes, but his win percentage does go up to 24. I can think of a horse like Madaket Road who successfully cut back to run a nice third. And I believe it was the Woody Stevens. Jackson, I know we're pretty familiar with this horse, having covered her out west a handful of times. I just don't think she's faced much, to David's point. The second place finisher in the Summertime Oaks, that last race at Santa Anita, Howen is entered in an allowance race this Thursday at Del Mar. Obviously, that's not a huge vote of confidence with the Clement L. Hirsch and some other long distance races for the Philly division coming up here at Del Mar. So I don't know. It's just not a very strong vote of confidence and not a move that he's been super successful with. Do you agree?
I just don't think she's that good. I just don't. Like, she's beating nothing out there. She's coming from I think she's like the 4th best closer in this field, and she's going to be way over bad for Baffert. So I'm good.
All right. It feels like we're all on the same page there. Wrapping up the grade 1 test, I'm going 286, Jackson 326, Kaylie 186, David 168. We'll move on now to race number 11. It is the grade 1 Whitney Stakes, our feature on this Saturday 13 race program. Picks are going up on the screen. I went 9-10-7, Jackson 9-5-3, Kaylie 9-3-5, David 10-5-3. So we have to start the conversation with the Mr. Consistent post time, drawn post 10 here. David, your top pick. This horse is 18 for 18 in the trifecta in his career. I love this horse. This is exactly the kind of horse you want to see, just a model of consistency, always running his race. But you feel like you feel like today's the day, or Saturday is the day for the number 10 post time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of this horse too for his entire career. We'll see if he's good enough to win a race like the Whitney, but a couple things going on in this race. So I'm sure we'll expand upon it more. The pace situation. There's a rabbit ender for Chad Brown. Currently, there's a 50-1 shot, Mama's Gold, who's a runoff front runner. Fierceness has a lot of natural speed. So we'll see how fast they go up front, but it certainly feels like there's the possibility that this could be a pretty legitimate pace. And obviously, if it comes apart, the horse that everyone is going to upgrade is Sierra Leone. So I think he's a very logical horse that a lot of handicappers are going to land on. But another horse that would really benefit from some pace is Post Time. And Post Time has gotten, let's say, not the best rides or trips in a few of his prior graded stakes attempts. He admittedly looks like a horse that is difficult to ride. He seems to have a light mouth. He turns his head a lot. He is a horse that you kind of want to sit on and produce one run. And it seems like timing that run has been a real difficulty in some of these graded stakes attempts. But I mean, this is a horse that loves to go after a target. He's always finishing. You watch him, it just feels like he could stack up at this level if everything broke perfectly. And he's really due to get a perfect trip at some point. We'll see if it can happen in this race. But I thought he ran great in the Whitney last year against a field that was pretty tough. I mean, this is probably a better field than was assembled last year. But I mean, he showed that he can hang at this level. His Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile was excellent. And that Blame Stakes 2 back the last time he tried Graded Stakes Company. Again, I mean, he's a horse that wants to get into the clear to make a run, and he was just altering course and angling inside of horses, finding traffic. I mean, he's better than the result in some of these graded stakes races, and we'll see if it can come together. But the way this field came up, I know he's going to be a price. I know I'm going to get a good effort out of him, and maybe he can finally find his day in the winner's circle.
Hey, I love the pick. I didn't have enough guts to pick this one on top. I picked Post Time in second. He always seems to be coming. You mentioned it. He likes to make that one run, and he just hasn't quite gotten that perfect trip, or that trip that he needs more so than a perfect trip in these graded stakes efforts. But he's run so well in every effort. He's been closer to the pace in some of his races, but whether it's 7 furlongs, a mile and a 16th, a mile and an eighth, he always seems to run an A race, and he's eventually going to get that win. It's just a matter of when. David thinks it's on Saturday. And before we go to our morning line favorite and the top choice between Kaylie Jackson and myself, I want to keep it with you, David. Why are you against the number 9 Fierceness?
I mean, I guess so when I was doing the morning line for this race, I was kind of on the fence between Sierra Leone and Fierceness for the favorite, and I ultimately went with Fierceness because the bettors just love to go for this horse. And I was kind of anticipating that Sierra Leone would be the popular pick in this race, so I'm kind of intrigued as to why all of you landed on Fierceness more than I want to give my case against him. But I'll just say, while I do think he turned into a different horse at the end of last year, able to deal with some faster paces and actually get different kinds of trips and be successful. I don't love either of his performances so far this year. I mean, he basically couldn't lose the Ali Sheba with the way that pace worked out, and the disadvantage going to his stablemate Locked, who just has gone the wrong way anyway. And that's a race that I know got a huge fig. It's a little tough to buy, maybe a few points higher for some of the horses in behind him. And his Met Mile, I thought was bad. I mean, it was a sloppy track. Maybe he didn't love it, although he's handled slop at Saratoga before. But I mean, that was a race where Raging Torrent got to the front, Fierceness. I mean, he had to angle outside of him, but it felt like he was perfectly positioned and he could just never get to that horse. It was actually losing ground to him at the end of the race. And, also that Met Mile was a race that was almost impossible to make a speed figure for because the track was changing so much as they were trying to get it to dry out on Belmont Day. If Beyer and other speed figure makers had made a fig at face value, it would have been in the low 90s. But they basically couldn't give that fig to the Met Mile horses, so they kind of had to artificially upgrade it and kind of make it a breakout race. The runbacks from the Met Mile, there have been 2 of them so far. They have not been good. Just the Touch coming back to lose a race that it looked like he couldn't possibly lose next time. And then, Castle Chaos doing nothing in his next race despite getting a ton of class relief. So I'm kind of wondering if the Met Mile was just a stinker of a race and Fierceness still lost it. And I still have some lingering doubts about whether or not he can win a race like this in maybe not the best form of his career. So that's why I'm against him.
Hey, that's very fair. Jackson, we'll go to you to talk about Fierceness next. I didn't like him in the Met Mile for a reason that I think you're knowledgeable of, and that's because he drew inside of other horses, and that did not happen here. He doesn't like being inside of horses, man. I don't know what to tell you. Into the first turn in all of his races, anytime he's been inside, he has lost. When he's been outside of horses, he has won, or he finished a very nice second in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, but he got run down by Sierra Leone, who we'll also talk about in just a minute. But he drew really well. I like him at 9 furlongs a lot better than I like him at a mile or a mile and a 16th. I'm with you. I think this is the kind of classic horse that you want going into the Breeders' Cup Classic in terms of his maybe his preferred distance. But I do think 9 furlongs certainly hits him between the eyes just as well as 10 furlongs does. What are your thoughts on the number 9 Fierceness here? I made enough of my point that he drew outside and he enjoys it here.
That's your whole point. All right.
He drew well. Things are going to go his way.
I know. I'm kidding. Look, he's really, really good. When he's on his best game, he's very, very good. And I still view him as the favorite up to this point in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I know Kaylie's going to disagree with me, but at this point, I think he is. The Met Mile was so bizarre. And as David said, and I was going to bring that one up, I think it was Craig Mikowski who tweeted that the race was just impossible to make a number for. So I kind of just ignored it completely just because I don't know what you're supposed to do with that. Obviously, the Ali Sheba race was another kind of a strange race where they just crawled on the front end and sprinted for home. I don't remember exact time in the last half mile, but it was something stupid. It's almost like a turf race the way they ran that one, set the track record. So just two weird races this year. But I think if you go back to what he did last year in the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Travers, he's very, very good. He's the one to beat. And he's also developed, the ability to sit just off the pace. If someone else is going to be hell-bent on going, and it seems like they are with Mama's Gold and the Rabbit directives inside, I think he's just going to follow the 8 and get the head start for sure on Sierra Leone and a few others in this spot, and they're going to have to come catch him. He's very, very good at Saratoga. He's very, very good overall. So I think he's the one to beat. I don't know what kind of price you're going to get on him. Obviously, Mindframe is supposed to scratch. We'll see what happens, but we'll see how crazy they go for this horse on the betting.
Yeah, this is a strange race. You have a horse, like you mentioned, Mindframe, who's likely going to scratch, at least according to what Pletcher and Rapoli seemingly have said. And drawing the rail, I would assume, would only kind of go farther to confirm that. You have a horse like Skippy Longstocking, who I believe is also entered in the Charlestown Classic. So I'm curious to see where Connections opt to run there. Kaylie, though, any thoughts? Go ahead, Jackson.
Let me ask David and Kaylie, because I asked you this morning, Ryan. Do you guys think it's a bad sign? Do you view it as a bad sign for Fierceness that they even bothered to enter Mindframe? I just think it's really bizarre that they entered both of them.
Well, I'll say this about it. Do you remember the last time they did this? It was when they entered Fierceness and Mindframe in the Haskell last year. And the story was, if Mindframe doesn't make the race, then we can run Fierceness, but we're not going to run Fierceness. We're going to run in the Jim Dandy. Mindframe wasn't seen for 9 months after the Haskell, so I don't know. It is a little weird. I guess I'll turn around and ask you guys a question. All of you who picked Fierceness on top, who would you like more, him or Mindframe in this race?
I would like Fierceness more than Mindframe in this race.
I don't think Mindframe wants to go this far against legit horses.
Really?
I like them. I like them both just as much. Whichever one Pletcher sends, I think is the horse that's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But,
all right. Kaylie, please stay on Fierceness for us.
He definitely, Pletcher's won this race like 4 times. This is a race he circles every year. Fierceness, I think people are really tough on this horse. The only bad race this horse has ever run was when he was 2 years old and when it was in the Derby. And for every other horse, we scratch out the Derby. So for Fierceness, I'm going to do that. And I think this horse showed a whole new dimension when he proved that he's able to rate. You look at that Travers. I think back to that race a ton. That horse ran his eyeballs out that day and held off Torpedo Anna. That was, that we've never seen Torpedo Anna even return back to that form. She ran her eyeballs out that day. And then after that, I would agree that the horse ran the best race in the Breeders' Cup Classic, the more you look back on it. And then he comes in off a layoff and he breaks a track record at Churchill Downs. And then, in the Met Mile, I believe, we talked about it earlier. He didn't like the rail. He's a horse that doesn't like to have anyone in front of him, not necessarily meaning he can't rate, but just not a horse directly in front of him. It was a sloppy sealed track and he doesn't like the Wilson shoot. So honestly, I think Fierceness, I'd put 2 fists down and bet at any price that he ends up at post time. I think this horse is just starting to round into the form that we saw last summer at Saratoga, and he could be even better as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, all fair points. And I think most of all, this is the race that's kind of circled for that Pletcher barn. I think it's circled for both of them, but I do think Fierceness is going to get the nod over Mindframe in this spot, especially considering how he drew. Even though I'm still in the park of that Fierceness doesn't like a whole lot of adversity. He doesn't like being inside of horses, but I do think that Johnny knows that. I think Johnny is excellent at riding him, as he's excellent at riding most horses. And in all of his rides, you can see that he has done all he can to get this horse to the outside. Mm-hmm. Last time out of the Wilson shoot, we've talked about it. The Met Mile is a bit of an aberration in terms of how that race has come back, the status of the track, everything like that. I'm willing to forgive it. And look others. We've mentioned that the 8 contrary thinking is a bit of a rabbit put in here for Chad Brown to hopefully set things up for Sierra Leone. The number 7, Wide Barrio, I'll touch on quickly. I picked this horse in 3rd just because this horse has not lost a 2-turn race since the Pegasus World Cup back in 2023. I think that's in January of 2023. I think this horse appreciates the 2-turn distance a lot more than he does anywhere in any other distance that he gets to go. So this is one I just wanted to kind of give another look to. He's won this race before, trained by Rick Dutrow at the time. But again, I think he can excel here. I think he's going to sit that right kind of trip. He should be behind all the speeds, even behind Fierceness probably. It's just going to be a matter of going home that final furlong if he can kind of catch those front runners, catch Fierceness, and hold off those deep closers like Sierra Leone. So I thought White Barrio deserved a look. About 4-1 is a decent enough price that, I'll take a shot on this horse one more time in a very, competitive running of the Whitney. Number 6, Disarm, as we just kind of work our way through the field. This horse feels like it's, I don't know. He's just not really the same. He runs all of his races. I just think he's a couple cuts below this grade 1 Whitney field. And now we'll talk about the number 5, Sierra Leone, who you three all have in the mix somewhere. A mile and an eighth. Let's, David, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Jackson because we haven't heard Jackson speak in a little bit here. Number 5, Sierra Leone. I don't like this horse because I feel like the mile and an eighth is maybe a bit too short. I'm waiting for this horse to get back out to the 10 panels. But what are your thoughts on this one? Do you think he gets the pace set up?
I do. I just think he's the most likely winner of this race. I think this is a great spot for him. For me, it's not the distance. It's all about the pace for Sierra Leone. And it just hasn't materialized in his last 2 races. There was no pace in the Foster. He had to move much earlier than I think was preferable. Flavian Pratt, you could see, really was trying to get him into position down the backstretch. And I think moving so early took away from the late run that he would have produced in the stretch. But he still was finding another gear at the end to stay on for second behind what I thought was excellent effort from Mindframe. I don't want to make too much of his seasonal debut at Fairgrounds. That was just obviously not the objective for him. And if he gets pace, which I expect him to in this race, I think he's going to be really tough to beat. And I think he's more likely to win than Fierceness. I know he's got this reputation as being a horse that likes to finish second and third and not win. He was in a lot of races that didn't set up for him last year. I think this one projects to set up much better as long as it holds together. I mean, if we start to hear that Mama's Gold is coming out or that Skippy Longstock is coming out, I mean, then this race changes completely. But as things are drawn, I think Sierra Leone is going to get his kind of race flow. Yeah,
I'm in agreement with you on that. That I don't think he's a horse that likes to finish second and third. Like we talk about those kind of herd animals that like to watch a horse. He just hasn't gotten the correct setup. I feel like at 10 furlongs, he's always going to get that setup, which is why that I like him a lot more at that distance where he's had a lot of his success. But again, he's a very consistent horse. I fear that this maybe at a mile and an eighth that holds together a little much, but Pratt has made some, I don't want to say early moves, but he's made moves to get Sierra Leone into the race, turning for home like he did in the Breeders' Cup Classic, which we know at Del Mar is always the right move. You got to get the horse basically into a winning position at the quarter pole, or you tend to have very little chance to win that race. So I like that Pratt obviously is going to be continue to be the rider here, and certainly Sierra Leone has a chance. Jackson, anything to add on the second choice?
Distance isn't what's going to get him beat. I mean, he had the lead at top of the stretch in the Classic. He had the lead going 8 furlongs in the Breeders' Cup Classic. 9 furlongs is fine as long as he gets the pace in here. I thought he ran massive in Stephen Foster. I mean, there was no setup that day. He had to make 2 moves where Mindframe just completely had the run of the race, and he was getting to Mindframe late after Mindframe had everything go his own way. Mindframe's very, very good, to be fair, and I don't know, he's awfully good. He gets the kind of setup in here, he's going to be very dangerous. I do agree with David. We were talking about this earlier too. I do think there might be a few scratches in here. When this race could look a lot different come Saturday. It's just tough to know on Tuesday. But as long as the race stays like it is now, he's very, very logical in here. And I felt like it was going to be one of the 2 favorites in here. I think they're both very, very talented.
Yeah, I get that completely. Kaylie, anything to add on the number 5, Sierra Leone?
I mean, I just love these two, their rivalry going back and forth, Fierceness and Sierra Leone. So excited to see them meet again at Saratoga. But this is a horse, I mean, I'm a big fan of Sierra Leone. I bet him all the time, all last summer at Saratoga. He was constantly running second and third. But it is very interesting. I mean, if you're going to pick any closer in here, I would pick Sierra Leone. If you think that it's going to fall apart, Sierra Leone is the best horse to land on here. I didn't see it playing out that way necessarily, but it would not shock me if this horse won whatsoever, especially that he gets a rabbit for the first time. And sure, the contrary thinking isn't necessarily as fast as some of the other horses in here, but I think his job is to inject some speed into the race by maybe pressuring the horses that are up front that could speed things up for Sierra Leone, and look at the horses he was running second and third to in Saratoga last summer. It was Fierceness. So certainly, I mean, very likely winner. It's, in my opinion, going to come down to Fierceness or Sierra. Really interested to see what it looks like after scratches.
Me too. Scratches obviously are going to affect this race, assuming they come in the way that we expect them to. If Sierra doesn't win this race, looking forward to the Breeders' Cup Classic, we might be looking at another scenario where we get Sierra in that 6-1 range, which is absolutely a number that I am going to hammer him at the windows because, again, I think the 10 furlongs is ultimately where he's going to get that pace set up regardless of who's in the race. And it worries me going shorter that you are a little bit more dependent on getting that set up, even though he's a very talented horse. Mama's Gold, the 450-1. And I actually want to talk about the morning line real quick. David, we see a lot of morning lines across the country that they won't go above 20-1, even though it's a horse that absolutely does not figure whatsoever. So I just want to say thank you for giving horses realistic odds in races. I know it's probably a very minor thing, but I do appreciate seeing Mama's Gold at 50-1, which I think is what this horse deserves to be at. I think he's clearly just a few notches below here, but I just wanted to shout you out for that because it's appreciated to see. So the number 3, Highland Falls, is the next one we'll talk about. And we'll talk about Skippy Longstocking maybe briefly. Again, he's entered in the Charlestown Classic going, I think it's 6 turns this weekend. So he might opt for that spot. But Kaylie and Jackson, both of you give a little love to this runner who obviously sprung the upset last year in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Comes in here off a win. Luis Saez is on board. Kaylie, will go to you first and then to Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to go
Dave.
Fierceness, Sierra Leone here. So, and I think that this horse, I mean, if anyone's going to upset the race, I think it's going to be Highland Falls. This horse can track right off the pace at a really nice trip. Obviously has a win at Saratoga, which you love to see. We're in a really good race last year here. And I think that this horse could upset the race if anyone does. But even if he doesn't, I mean, he's projected to sit a pretty nice trip just based on the way he drew. So, I mean, I think this horse at 8-1 is pretty interesting to have on your tickets.
8-1, certainly some good value. Jackson?
I really wanted to pick him on top. I thought when he's really aggressive, when they're really aggressive with this horse, he can be very, very good, as we saw in the Jockey Cup Gold Cup when he ran huge that day. Was phenomenal ride from Pratt, put away to Arthur's ride, put him into the race. The problem is, even if he runs back to that race, he still needs Sierra Leone and Fierce not to come with their best effort to win. Now he could take a step forward, I guess, for sure too. But I think he's more of an underneath type against these. But I hope they're aggressive with him again. And especially with Saez riding, I think they might be.
Yeah, certainly with Saez in the saddle, he could be aggressive. David, last thoughts to you for the number 3 Highland Falls here.
Yeah, I mean, he ran that great race in the Jockey Club Gold Cup last year, and I kind of wonder if that's, again, the ultimate objective for him because he just had that race off the layoff last time. This feels like it might be a good, even though it's a tough spot, it feels like it might be a good stepping stone race to a race that's much more winnable for him at the end of the meet. But as Jackson was alluding to, if some of the speed starts to come out and he's able to attain better forward position in this race and doesn't get outrun early, that might enhance his chances a little bit, though he is one that I do think is better going to 10 furlongs.
Yeah, I like him at the classic distance as well. Jackson, last one we'll talk about. He's the Gold Cup winner out at Santa Anita last out. Skippy Longstocking, do you give this one any chance if he does stay in the field?
Not really.
All right. Kaylie also gave a dismissive wave. I'm right alongside. David, any shot to Skippy Longstocking here?
I think we're anticipating he's going to run. I mean, he ran in both last year. He came right back quick in the Charlestown Classic. So maybe
he's not full-centered.
Yeah, maybe. I think
right.
it's like less than just under 3 weeks between the two races. I mean, we'll see. But at the grade 1 level, he's proven to be a cup below.
Yeah, he is. It's possible that I mixed up Skippy Longstocking with Hit Show going to the the Mountaineer West Virginia Derby or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But looking at horses for so long, Mind Frame, if he runs, obviously is going to be a big contender. But he's the one who I think we're anticipating coming out. So we'll stick with the horses that we know are going to be in the race. So one more time for the Grade 1 Whitney Stakes, I went 9-10-7. Jackson went 9-5-3. Kaylie 9-3-5. David 10-5-3. David, thank you for taking the time out of your busy week here as you lead up into a big weekend out at Saratoga, and obviously the work never stops for you, whether you're doing some other preview shows for DRF or elsewhere, and just making morning lines, I assume, from sunrise to sunset. We appreciate all the time, and thank you for joining us today.
I wish that were hyperbole, but it's not. You guys do a great job. Happy to join you, and just looking forward to a great week of racing on Saturday.
Absolutely. We do have an excellent weekend of racing coming up. Jackson, you and I on Thursday are going to be on Pacific Horse Players over on HHH, going over an excellent Saturday program, including the Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch. Kaylie, I'm sure you and Matthew are going to release no less than 700 videos between now and Saturday morning. As you guys, I've never known to take a single hour off of making content, so I'm sure there's going to be some excellent stuff to catch on Naira Bets. But fill us in. How is the podcast with Nick Zito, Right or Wrong, going?
Oh, it's going really well. Definitely have a few more fun episodes planned for before Saratoga's over. I feel like I know obviously Saratoga always has great racing, but I feel like the real racing really starts when the Jim Dandy hits, and then it's just constant, amazing racing every weekend. So I'm just so excited. And obviously, David, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. That was a lot of fun.
No problem.
Jackson, any parting words from you, my friend?
Nope, let's crush it this weekend.
All right. Best of luck to everybody. David, thank you again for joining. And as always, my two excellent co-hosts, Kaylie Shapiro, Jackson Muniz. You know where to find them on X, as well as social media through Naira Bets, and on the Gallop Out and HHH Racing, and in the money for Jackson, as he is also a little bit of everywhere. Thank you to everybody for watching. We'll see you next week as we preview another excellent card, likely out at Saratoga. Jackson, you and I will also be back next week with Tony Kalo previewing the Ellis Park Derby Day, as they have 5 stakes going on as we continue their summer meet down at the P Patch. But for now, thank you everybody for watching. Have a wonderful night. Good luck this weekend in all your bets.